Hey guys, welcome back to Woods Tree Farm. I'm Phil, and today I've got a new saw to share with you guys. And I'm gonna give you a couple updates in the Woodyard here and on the progress of things. But this saw, I'm excited to use. I've used it once already off camera, know how it works. It is about the same weight as my Stihl MS181 that I've had for, I don't know, 7 years. I actually had that saw before I had the farm. It's in the truck over there. But it is a 50cc saw, so it's got more power than the Stihl, and it's got an 18-inch bar, so it's 2 inches longer than what is currently on that Stihl as well. And this is going to be my primary firewood bucking saw for, at least for the small stuff. And I really like its lightweight so far. I got a couple hickory logs over here on the forks. We'll pick those up in a minute and buck that up. I've got Jeremy coming to help tomorrow, and this should get all cleaned up, and we'll get that stuff that I buck up split up as well. So finally, here in the Woodyard, the massive pile that I've had here since the beginning of the year when I rented the Dyna firewood processor is almost cleaned up. I've got this pile right here, which is the dirtiest, ugliest stuff. That's what was in ground contact on the bottom of the pile. I've got a bin full of random size scraps and whatnot, and naughty, gnarly pieces. That'll be stuff that I burn in my own firewood kiln in the wood stove. I've got a bin over here that is all shorter pieces. I've actually generated, I think, 4 of these so far, and might get to one more or so when this is all said and done, because I've still got a bunch of random sized chunks laying around that can be split up and added to those bins. But I'll sell those separately to people who want shorter wood for their small wood stoves or for the portable smokeless fire pits. And this pile and that pile are all that's left. For the most part, this pile over here is stuff that needs to be resplit. This pile is stuff that we haven't yet gone through. Some of it's the right size and can just get out of here. So with just a couple hours work tomorrow, I think this entire area here can be reclaimed, which is what I've been working on for months now. I've got lots of hours sunk in cleaning this area up. And in hindsight, a very unproductive period of time, because the whole time we're cleaning that up, we're not creating any new firewood inventory. So that is why I want to start bucking up some of this stuff now, because I got a pile of logs over there, got a pile of logs over there, got a pile of logs right there, and we're going to start clearing some land soon. We're going to have a bunch more logs, but all of these are on the drier side of things, and that stuff needs to get added to the inventory. Also today, I just picked up a handful of new firewood totes, or the IBC totes that will be used for firewood, and for the most part these have pretty clean bladders that I'll be able to use for some bins as well, for some of the odd chunks and scraps and whatnot. But 5 totes represents over a cord of firewood storage, so everything that I just showed you in that pile should be able to go in these totes once we get the bladders out of them. And I picked up some more pallets because we're still stacking a little bit of wood here and there, and I always need some pallets. think that's going to be the perfect size saw. It is smaller than several of my other saws, bigger than that Stihl MS181. That 181 I would rarely use on firewood. It's just underpowered. Limit up a tree or something, it does pretty good. Some of this really small stuff that you see in this pile, it'll do okay, but that saw being 50cc is much better suited for most of what's in this pile. There is some slightly bigger stuff down there that I would much rather use a slightly more powerful saw, but the bulk of what I get looks like this. And if I'm cutting up a lot of that stuff, I'd much rather have a lighter saw than my 362 or my Echo 590. And over here I did move some of the bigger stuff. There's a couple small logs right on top of this pile, but the rest of this pile is bigger stuff that we'll use the bigger saws for. But I want to get through as much of this as possible, especially small stuff. It's been sitting out all summer. That small stuff is dry and ready to go. So the important part here that needs to get cleaned up will get done this week. I am certain of that. That's the important part. This is the area that we use for parking for our events. Out in that gravel area over there we use for parking. So all of the main open areas need to be cleared out, cleaned up for parking. Over here to the side, there's still a lot more stuff that I need to work on, that I need to do eventually. It's not as pressing because we actually don't park cars over here because there's a septic drain field in this section. So there's a bunch of random wood laying around that needs to get cleaned up. A couple hickory logs here, some hickory rounds there. There's my old mulch bladders that I'll probably never do anything with, that I just need to cut up and take to the landfill. And then all around the perimeter, there are still a few logs and odds and ends to clean up, but I'm hopeful that's not going to take that long. All the chips and debris that are on the ground will need to get scooped up. Much of it will get burnt. Anything that's big will just burn. I burnt quite a bit last week. I probably took, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 buckets full of debris down to our big fire pit last week and burn it all there. And you know, there's still quite a bit here, then especially what's under the piles, but I've made a pretty good dent in it. And then a big pile of sawdust there we'll just scoop up and throw off to the side. I've got some topsoil and some compost, mulch, you know, wood chips over there, just kind of composting, and I'll just add the sawdust to that. So that is the game plan for putting the finishing touches on this cleanup here. And I'll share that with you on the next one. So you guys stay safe. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.